right now, millions of people are walking around with just this massive blind spot in their medical charts. And, well, I came across a statistic today that absolutely stopped me in my tracks.
Oh yeah, the fracture stat.
Yeah, the fracture stat. Roughly 50% of all bone fractures in older adults happen to people whose standard bone density scans say they're perfectly fine. Half of them.
That's wild. It completely shatters the conventional understanding of why people break bones as they age.
Right.
We had this really entrenched mental model that frail bones equal fractures. But, I mean, if half the people breaking bones don't even meet the clinical criteria for fragile bones, our whole diagnostic model is clearly, well, it's missing half the equation.
Welcome to today's deep dive. If you're listening to this right now, our mission today is to unpack a really ambitious medical technology proposal. It's from Dr. Christophe Delong and the team at Kinexa.
Right, the Kinexa proposal.
Exactly. They are presenting a project focused on using what they call deep tech visuals for fracture prevention. And we're going to explore how, turning just a standard smartphone camera into an AI-powered biomechanics lab might actually be the key to preventing falls before they even happen.
Which is a huge claim, obviously.
Huge. But, okay, to understand this, we have to look at the problem first. If our standard medical tests are missing half the people who end up breaking bones, what exactly are we measuring right now?
So currently the gold standard is osteodensitometry, which is commonly known as a DEXA scan.
Right. People just say, go get your DEXA scan.
Exactly. It's a specialized imaging test. It uses two low-energy X-ray beams to measure basically how much calcium and other minerals are packed into a specific segment of your bone.
Okay, so it's looking at the raw material.
Yeah. And the World Health Organization uses a metric called a T-score for this. It essentially compares your bone density to that of a healthy 30-year-old.
Got it.
And if your T-score drops to negative 2.5 or lower, that's when you get the official osteoporosis diagnosis.
Okay, so it's a purely structural measurement. Like, it's literally just a static snapshot of how dense the material is in that exact moment.
And that is its fundamental clinical flaw. It's entirely static. I mean, it measures the bone, sure, but it offers a zero-dimensional evaluation of the actual risk of the person falling down.
Wow. Zero-dimensional. That's a harsh way to put it, but yeah.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
In fact, looking at a DEXA scan in isolation hasn't even been shown to impact clinical mortality because it completely ignores the dynamic, functional reality of a human being, actually moving through the physical world.
Okay, but to be fair, doctors don't just rely on DEXA, do they? The source material mentions the FIX tool as the other major standard.
Yeah, FRX. So FRX was developed under the WHO to provide a bit more context. It calculates your absolute risk of a major fracture over the next 10 years.
By looking at more than just the X-ray, right?
It factors in clinical data alongside the bone density. So it looks at your age, your BMI, whether you smoke or, if you're taking things like glucocorticoids.
Let me jump in real quick just to clarify for anyone listening. Glucocorticoids are steroid medications, right? Like prednisone.
Yes, exactly.
Things you take for inflammation, but they can physically thin out your bones over time as a side effect.
Precisely. So FRAX takes those chemical and lifestyle risk factors into account. And it's definitely an improvement over just looking at the bone density. But the major limitation is still there.
Which is what?
FRAX still does not integrate any evaluation of your actual physical fall risk.
Okay, think of it this way for everyone listening. Relying only on a DEXA scan or a FAX score to prevent fractures is like testing a car's bumper strength to see if it can survive a crash.
Right.
But you're completely ignoring whether the driver is reckless, visually impaired, and, highly prone to crashing into a wall in the first place.
That is a perfect analogy. And the WHO, along with the International Osteoporosis Foundation, actually agree with that assessment.
They do.
Yeah. A fracture is almost always the result of the interaction between bone fragility and fall risk. I mean, a patient can have a totally fine low-risk FRAX score, but a massive risk of breaking a bone because they have an underlying balance disorder.
Or poor posture, or something like sarcopenia.
Exactly.
And sarcopenia is age-related muscle loss, but it isn't just, oh, I'm getting a little weaker, right?
Much more specific than that.
It's this biological process where you literally lose muscle mass, specifically the fast-twitch muscle fibers, which, from what I understand, are exactly the fibers you need to fire quickly to catch yourself when you trip.
Spot on. So the medical community totally recognizes that we need to look at the driver, not just the bumper. But here's the historical bottleneck. Measuring bone density is easy. You just lie still in a machine for 10 minutes.
Right. Anyone can do that.
But measuring functional movement and muscle weakness in everyday life. Historically, that requires a specialized biomechanics lab. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in sensor equipment, force plates on the floor, and a whole team of technicians.
So it's completely unscalable. Which brings us to the core of the whole deep dive today. How do we practically measure someone's risk of falling without sending millions of people to these crazy expensive labs?
This is where the proposal from Dr. Christophe Delong in Kinexa introduces deep tech.
Right, the deep tech visual.
Exactly. They're combining computer vision with deep learning to analyze a patient's gait, their posture, and their balance. And they're doing it using just a 2D video from standard smartphone camera or a webcam.
Okay, I have to push back on this a bit because honestly, it sounds a little sci-fi.
I get that a lot.
I mean, I'm picturing motion capture technology, like what they use in Hollywood or for video games, where they put an actor in a black spandex suit covered in ping pong balls so the computer can track their joints.
Yeah, the mocap suits.
Right. How does a standard iPad camera do that without the ping pong balls and without, like, laser depth sensors?
Well, it's a great analogy because the AI is doing exactly what those suits do, but entirely virtually. The system uses advanced pose estimation models. It's very similar to frameworks like Google's MediaPipe.
Okay, and how does that work?
These neural networks have been trained on millions, literally millions, of annotated images of human bodies in every conceivable position.
Wow.
So when the AI looks at a flat 2D video from your phone, it isn't just looking for a human shape. It's actually crunching pixel contrasts to find the statistical probability of where a kneecap or a shoulder joint is.
Oh, I see. So it's doing math, not just taking a picture.
Exactly. It mathematically infers the 3D position from a 2D image. It basically draws a digital wireframe skeleton over the video of your body in real time.
That is wild. And once it has that digital skeleton mapped out, what is the Kinexa software actually doing with it?
It performs automated kinematic analysis. So the algorithms calculate the precise angles of your joints as you move. They measure the symmetry of your walk. And then the machine learning analyzes this continuous stream of data to detect subtle, high-risk patterns, things that a human doctor might completely miss with the naked eye.
You mean it catches the invisible functional fragility, like a slight shuffle or a tiny microlimb?
Exactly.
But again, playing the skeptic here. Can a normal iPhone really replace a room full of specialized medical sensors? Like, what if the lighting in my living room is bad, or I hold my phone at a weird angle? Doesn't the whole thing just fall apart?
You'd think so, but the scientific validation in the literature actually addresses those edge cases. And the robustness is really surprising.
Really?
Yeah. According to studies published in peer-reviewed journals like Gait and Posture, this kind of artificial vision can extract spatial and temporal parameters with incredible accuracy.
Wait, spatial and temporal parameters, meaning like how you move through physical space and the actual timing of your steps?
Yes. Metrics like your stride length, your walking speed,
Yeah.
the exact duration of each individual footfall. The AI extracts these with an error rate of less than 5% when compared to those expensive multi-sensor laboratory systems.
Less than 5%. That's barely anything.
Right. And when they test these AI models against the judgment of human medical experts, the neural networks achieve a concordance rate of over 95%.
Okay, so the accuracy is incredibly high. The tech is real. But let's get into the mechanics of the actual evaluation.
Sure.
If I set up my phone across my living room, what is the AI putting me through? The source document outlines 4 automated clinical tests. Walk me through the first one.
So the first test is super fundamental. It's just walking speed. The AI calculates exactly how fast you move across the frame.
That sounds almost too simple.
It is simple, but it's crucial. The critical threshold here is 0.8 meters per second. If a patient's walking speed drops below that mark, it strongly correlates with a highly increased risk of falling.
I guess that makes sense. Because when you think about it, walking is essentially just a series of controlled falls forward.
Right.
If you lose your momentum, you lose your stability. You start spending way too much time hovering on one foot during each step, which obviously requires vastly more balance.
That is a perfect transition, actually, because the second evaluation focuses entirely on what happens when you aren't moving forward.
Okay, what is it?
It's the unipodal balance test. The patient just stands in front of the camera on one leg.
Oh, the flamingo pose.
Exactly, the flamingo pose. But the system isn't just timing how long they can stay up. It's actively analyzing their trunk stability in real time.
So it's looking at their core.
Yeah, it tracks the shoulders and hips to quantify the exact microscopic oscillations of the person's center of gravity.
Wow, it's measuring the invisible wobble, the tiny neurological corrections your ankles and your core are making just to keep you upright.
Exactly.
But, most falls don't happen when someone is just standing still on one leg. What about the really common chaotic scenarios? Like, you're sitting in a deep sofa, the doorbell rings, and you rush to stand up, turn, and start walking. That's exactly when people lose their footing.
You're totally right. And the AI tests for exactly that scenario. It uses a fully automated, timed up and go test, commonly called the TOB test.
2UG, okay. How does that work?
The patient sits in a chair, they stand up, walk 3 meters, turn around, walk back, and sit down. And the AI handles all the timing and phase analysis without any human intervention.
And what's the red flag number there?
The benchmark is 13.5 seconds. Taking longer than that is a major indicator of high fall risk.
Because it requires so many different biomechanical systems to coordinate all at once. Like, you need lower body strength to push up against gravity, momentum to walk, and crucially, the balance to turn around.
Yes, the turning phase.
That turning phase is highly complex neurologically, right? You are shifting your weight laterally while rotating.
It is arguably the most vulnerable phase of movement, which brings us directly to the fourth evaluation.
All right, wait.
It's a 3D postural analysis combined with the chair stand test. So from a profile view, the AI first checks for thoracic kyphosis. That's an excessive forward curvature of the upper back.
Like that hunched posture we often associate with aging.
Yes. And clinically, it's often a sign of previous microfractures in the vertebrae. But biomechanically, it's a disaster. It dramatically shifts your center of gravity forward, making you inherently off balance before you even take a single step.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You're already leaning into the fall.
Right. So alongside that postural check, the system runs the chair stand test. The patient has to stand up from a chair and sit back down 5 times, as fast as they can, but without using their arms to push off.
Okay, I want to pause on this one because it is so tangible. If you are listening to this right now, I want you to ask yourself, could you stand up from the chair you're in 5 times in a row without using your arms?
Most people think it's easy until they try it.
Right. It sounds incredibly simple, but it is a massive indicator of lower body strength, specifically the explosive power in your quadriceps and your glutes. And if you can't do that, your risk of not being able to catch yourself during a stumble just skyrockets.
Exactly. And when you combine all 4 of these tests, you get a complete functional profile. We move from just guessing a person's risk based on the density of their skeleton to actually knowing how fragile their movement is in reality.
So diagnosing the risk is one thing, and it sounds amazing. But let's say I do these tests in my living room, and the AI tells me my balance is terrible and my walking speed is dangerously slow.
Okay.
What is the actual treatment? Because you can't just swallow a calcium pill to fix a shuffling walk.
And this is where the Kinexa system transitions from just a diagnostic tool to an actual AI personal trainer.
Oh.
Based on international guidelines from the WHO and the American College of Sports Medicine, the recommended intervention is a multimodal exercise program. So the deep tech system takes your specific test results and it automatically generates a highly targeted routine.
So it's not just a generic piece of paper that says, go for a walk for 30 minutes a day.
Not at all. It's deeply personalized. If the AI detects a high risk of falling, it prioritizes balance work. So things like standing on unstable surfaces or doing heel-to-toe walking.
And what if it detects that muscle loss we talked about, sarcopenia?
Then it focuses on lower body resistance training. And for actual bone strengthening, it prescribes weight-bearing exercises.
Perfect.
Things like squats, lunges, or wall push-ups.
Okay, here is where I'm going to be a bit skeptical again.
Bring it on.
The proposal notes that the AI watches you do these exercises and provides real-time visual and vocal feedback. And it claims it does this with less than 100 milliseconds of latency.
Yes, sub 100 milliseconds.
Are they really claiming that? Even on like a basic Wi-Fi connection with an older smartphone? Because if I'm doing a squat and my knee is dangerously caving inward, a laggy AI telling me to fix my posture 2 seconds later isn't just unhelpful, it's actually dangerous.
You're absolutely right, which is why the low latency is such a critical component of their engineering. The secret is that the pose estimation models are lightweight enough to run locally on the device's own processor.
Oh, it's not going to the cloud.
No. Rather than compressing a video, sending it to a cloud server, and waiting for a response, everything happens on your phone. That's why the feedback is nearly instantaneous.
Wow.
It highlights your knee on the screen and verbally tells you to push it out right then and there. It even counts your reps automatically.
That is remarkable if it works flawlessly on local hardware, but I think it brings up a much larger point about how we treat aging in general.
Yeah.
We're essentially moving from a passive treatment model to an active one.
It is a fundamental paradigm shift.
Yeah.
I mean, think about standard medical treatment based on a DEXA scan. It often just involves prescribing bisphosphonates.
Right. Which are drugs that basically stop the body from breaking down old bone tissue, right?
Yes, they inhibit the cells that break down bones, so they preserve what's already there. But here's the catch. They take years to show a measurable effect on a bone density scan.
Years.
And more importantly, taking a pill does absolutely nothing to improve your coordination. It won't stop you from tripping over a rug in your hallway.
It's passive prevention. The pill just tries to reinforce the bumper for when the crash inevitably happens.
Exactly. Whereas this AI-guided exercise approach is active prevention. It forces a neuromuscular adaptation.
You meaning you're literally rewiring your brain-body connection.
Right. When you practice balance and resistance training, you are teaching your motor neurons and muscle fibers to communicate faster and fire harder. And those improvements in balance and functional strength can appear in just a matter of weeks, not years.
Plus, it triggers Wolff's Law, doesn't it? The biological rule that bone adapts to the physical loads placed upon it.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the physical compression of doing a squat signals your cells to lay down new, denser bone tissue, so it's a win-win.
You are treating the root cause of the fall while simultaneously making the bone stronger through mechanical stress. It's a dual benefit that a pill just can't offer.
Okay, the technology sounds incredible. The shift to active prevention makes total biological sense. But the medical establishment is notoriously and rightfully demanding of actual proof.
Oh, of course.
How is Dr. DeLong's team going to convince doctors that an AI app on a phone works better than the standard care of a bone density scan and a prescription pad?
Well, they aren't just making claims. The proposal outlines a really rigorous 24-month comparative study designed to prove the concept.
Okay, tell me about the study.
They plan to track adults aged 65 and older, specifically people who already have a history of falls or reduced mobility. And they'll do this over a 2-year period in a randomized control trial.
How do they split up the groups? Who gets what?
The control group receives the standard current care. So they get a DEXA scan, pharmacological treatment if they meet the osteoporosis criteria, and just generic advice to stay active.
The standard playbook. And the other group.
The intervention group gets the deep tech evaluation via their webcam. They get the automated fall risk diagnosis and the personalized AI-guided exercise program 3 to 5 times a week.
Oh, and they do video reevaluations too.
Yes, automated reevaluations every 2 months to track progress.
Okay, and what are they looking at to see who wins? Like, what's the actual metric of success?
This is what's really critical. The primary endpoint they are measuring isn't just a change in bone density. They're measuring post-fall morbidity.
Meaning, what actually happens to the patient in the real world after they trip? Because a hip fracture isn't just a broken bone.
Not at all.
It often triggers this whole cascade of secondary issues, right? Being bedridden leads to severe muscle wasting, a high risk of pneumonia, deep vein thrombosis. I mean, they are tracking actual hospitalizations and loss of autonomy.
Yes. Can an 80-year-old still live in their own house and cook their own meals? That is true autonomy. And the literature review provided in the source gives a lot of reason for optimism here.
Really? What does the data say?
Well, Cochrane meta-analyses have already shown that multimodal exercise interventions can reduce fall rates by up to 23%.
Wow. A 23% reduction is massive on a population health level. That's literally thousands of lives saved.
And it gets better. The famous Otago exercise program from New Zealand, which used supervised at-home exercises, demonstrated a 40% reduction in actual fractures.
40%.
The medical community knows that exercise works. The barrier has just always been delivering that expert supervision to millions of people at scale in their own homes.
And now the AI can finally do it.
Right. In fact, the AI fall prediction models currently boast an AUC score of over 0.80.
Wait, let me put that in plain English for everyone listening. An accuracy score over 80% basically means the AI is just as good, if not better, at spotting a future fall risk than a human doctor standing in the room staring right at you.
Exactly. It democratizes clinical expertise. It provides scalable, completely objective evaluation, eliminating human bias or the variability you get between different clinics.
Wow. If we pull all of this together, I think the main takeaway for you, the listener, is just a message of profound empowerment. Balance and functional strength are not just things you inevitably lose as you age. They are highly trainable skills.
They absolutely are.
And technology is finally giving us a scalable way to measure those skills and actually improve them before a catastrophic fall occurs.
It's a necessary evolution. By codifying clinical expertise into our everyday devices, we catch the invisible fragility that standard static tests just miss. It's a truly proactive approach to health.
It really is. But I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. We've talked about using this technology deliberately today, right?
Yeah, like opening an app.
Exactly. Opening an app, setting up your phone, and letting the AI analyze your movements. But as computer vision technology becomes even more advanced and seamlessly integrated into the background of our lives,
Hmm.
well, how long until our smart home cameras or just the phone sitting in your pocket are quietly monitoring your biomechanics all day long?
That's a wild thought.
Think about it. How long until your home Wi-Fi network is diagnosing a physical decline in your daily walking habits, noticing a slight shuffle or a micro change in your center of gravity before you even notice a change yourself? Because if X-ray gives us precision after the bone is broken, this technology might just give us the ultimate precision stopping the fall before it ever happens. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.